Hey, thanks for tuning in. Forgot to turn on my microphone at first. Today I'll be back working on phpstan-drupal. I know I took the past six 6 weeks, 2 weeks working on Drupal Rector. One of the cool things about that, if I go to Palantir repo for Drupal Rector, 0.12.1 was released 2 days ago, and that includes all the fixes that make rules for the 9.3 and 9.4 deprecations automatically be fixed. Words are hard today. So that's awesome. So if you do pull down Drupal Rector, you will be able to fix all the deprecated code in your Drupal 9 website. So it'd be great if you try that out and report any bugs. So today, now that that's done, I'm going to get back to phpstan-drupal, and I actually spent some time and got ahead of myself to pick ahead some issues here that I'm going to work on. One is I want to get the Drupal version constant flagged as dynamic, because there's actually a bug, well, not bug, but inside of one of my tests here. Oh, now it's going to be slow to load. In one of my tests, we have to do git deprecated service rule. So I actually had to do like phpstan ignore next line, because it would say always true, because on my local I have Drupal 9. So if I were to create a new branch for that, so let's go ahead and we're going to work on issue 325. Just do it from here. New branch, GitHub 325. Sorry, I've got like a cough from Florida Drupal campus this weekend. I'm COVID negative, but just it's been 2 years since I've had to be at places and talking a lot in front of people and possibly yelling or talking loudly due to like other people. So just got like a sore throat. So the goal here is to remove instances of phpstan ignore line whenever using Drupal version, because this was returning a error. Okay, so there. That's not it. Oh, is there really only this one instance? I guess so. So let's remove it there. We'll do it there too. All right, so I guess it's just those two areas. And if I were to do PHP vendor bin phpstan and let analyze, we're probably going to get an error about it being is always equal. So that's the idea there, is that constant is 9.3.6 here, which means that this, in the one instance where I removed it, it will always be true. And that's what we want to fix. We want this to be fixed because it's actually a dynamic constant that can depend on your current version that's installed. And phpstan supports that. So let's go update our extension file to extension.neon. File extension, stub files. Oh, this is something that happened too over Florida Drupal Camp on my flight that I worked on. I'll talk about that in a second. So let's go ahead and put it after file extensions. And then what do we do? The fully qualified name. So let's go and copy the reference, paste it. And now if we rerun, or not. Here, let's see. Maybe I need to remove. Oh, wait. That's because I have it in the extension, not in my phpstan.yaml or YAML phpstan.neon. So I got to copy it in here as well. So let's go ahead and we'll run it. There we go. No error. So let's go ahead and commit that, because I don't know if maybe we should get a test in there. No, I'm not going to worry about a test. So let's just do let's go ahead and review the changes. And then I'll talk about the field types that support that I added on my flight 2. On my flight to Florida Drupal camp, and that I committed on Friday during the trainings and just general hanging out. Mark Drupal version as a dynamic constant. Push. Let's push it. And GitHub PR create. Let's add the body. So this fixes number 325. The Drupal version constant changes based on what is installed. Submit. All right, so while that runs, let's go ahead. I'm going to update the GitHub CLI. Curious to see what changed. Ooh. Let's try this out. So, oh, I'm waiting for GitHub to update. So if we do GitHub PR checks, watch, we're going to watch PR 349. Oh, because I didn't update yet. Yeah, well, can't use something that did not get updated. But if I did GitHub PR checks 349, so one failed. Let's go check on this. What failed? All right, the D10. This is one thing I worked on Saturday as well, as it was passing. Oh, I thought this got fixed. Where Drush supported PSR. So Drupal bumped to PSR 2, and Drush still used PSR log. So Drupal bumped to PSR log version 2, and Drush is still tapped to PSR log 1. That's that error message right there. No big deal. I'm allowing it to fail because right now, so over the weekend, Drupal 10 went from, or not over the weekend, over the past few days, 5 days, let's say, Drupal 10 bumped from Symfony 5 to 6, which caused incompatibilities with Drush 11. So we're just in this weird state where Drush won't be installable on Drupal 10 as we kind of dance back and forth between dependencies. But this should be marked as green. Well, allowed to merge because this is allowed to fail. So, hello. Thanks for hanging in. I'm going to go ahead and merge this as we actually need it to fix another issue that came up. We had several constants that became deprecated. Actually, real quick, before I get to that one, I want to show off the field type stuff. So for the field types, that was brought up on the last stream. There was an instance where the code was asserted to be a link item, so link field item, and getting the title property, and it came up with property cannot be accessed. And that's just because in core we don't have @property symbols on our fields that say, oh yeah, these properties exist. Well, phpstan has a way to work around it. You provide stubs. Now, as I found out, or rather forgot, when you stub one file, you have to stub all of its dependencies. So we do have, for link, because that was the item we were talking about, we have the stub file that specifies that link fields have a URI, title, and options. So hopefully this fixes your bug. But that then entailed having to decorate the core field item base and the field item interface. All the core fields are stubbed too. Maybe there's some core modules that need to be stubbed. But the end goal is, if we look at the tests, so type, data, and field types. Now what we can do, excuse me. So let's say that you did node get my field first, because when you do get field, this is actually an item list. And And when you call first, it gets the first value, which is actually a link item instance. This assert is here because we need to tell phpstan to type int it. So that's where we do this right here. This assert type kind of just backs up that this worked. But now you can see link field title, link field URI, link field options are now all being returned appropriately with their types. So all those accessing properties that do not exist are now fixed. Even for Boolean item, changed item, as we can see, changed item actually goes all the way back up to timestamp item, which it extends. Yeah, so overall, like, this is really, I'm excited for it. That's what I worked on my flight down to Florida Drupal Camp and spent some time on Friday working on, along with trying to get the Drupal 10 branch passing. Was it Drupal 10? No, I broke head. Sorry, I broke the head, the way that head was being tested, the main branch, but that's fixed now too. So yeah, so that's great. I'm really excited because it's going to hopefully improve some property checking. There's a lot more to do. I've opened up some issues for that. Like, one idea I have is providing a drush command to generate configuration based off of your current site. And what this could do is you can run a drush command against your installed site, and it would generate for your site the entity mapping, and maybe even like fields, so that way when we encounter like a node, and we know what fields are on all the node bundles, so that way we just assume, along with some other fixes. Is I recently wrote a blog post where I didn't realize this, but now you can provide drush commands anywhere. So if you put it in the namespace of drush commands and name it with foo drush commands extends, it will be discovered. So phpstan-drupal could provide drush commands that are used to generate your extension.neon, or your phpstan.neon for your Drupal site. So more and more Drupal check can like disappear. That's the end goal, is right. Drupal check provides this nice integration and like mapping. Maybe I can provide a drush command, so you just install phpstan-drupal, run your drush command, and it can configure things up. So that'll be really exciting. But I did not want to take today working on that. Oh, one other thing I wanted to do is find your installed modules. So what we do right now with our auto loading, and this is the biggest performance hit, is we go through all the modules, load them, and register their services.yaml. When I was doing the performance checks, if I look at that, performance improvements. So if we go to performance improvements, and if I load this last profile, I believe we'll see that it runs about 136 times, and parsing the YAML files takes about, let's go to the timeline. So we're getting on the nitty gritty. Oh wait, yeah, we want call graph. Never mind. And if I type in YAML, oh, it did not parse. Let's do Drupal. So register. I mean, we're talking a little bit right here. Like, so 533 modules had the extension node called, which took 59 milliseconds. You know, if we could get that down to be the like 40 that are true to your site, it's an improvement. You know, for Drupal core, we don't necessarily want that. For your client site, that'd be a nice benefit. So that's another idea I had while going through airport security to Florida Drupal Camp. So it's kind of nice that I went away, came up with some cool ideas. But before going down that, I want to try to work on some other bugs so I can tag another release. Specifically, what was brought up is that these constants run across all the time and don't care about your Drupal version. So if you're still on Drupal 8 or before Drupal 9.3, because these were deprecated in 9.4, let's say. So if you're still on 9.2, these are going to be reported as deprecated, and you can't fix it because the fixes haven't been released yet. So that's the issue that I want to work on next. So let's do new branch. So it was a GitHub 326 follow up. So what we need to do is, let's go to the access deprecated constant, and we have this list right here. And what we need to do is, oh boy, find the ones that were just added and find the ones that were just added and include them or move them into a different area. Let me go find that pull request. So I didn't really think about it. It was just like so exciting. Like boom, that came in right away. So file changed, Drupal minimum PHP. So now we got to do a if hold on, what's the one trick I used in my test? Because version compare. So one thing I also found out using version compare. So if we were to go to the Drupal code base and it loads, so using the core version compare actually breaks with the dev branch of Drupal version. So if we look at version, so in version with it being -dev, that breaks PHP's version compare. So that's where we need to follow this trick. Rules, git deprecated service rule. So we're just going to explode on the 2. Which let's go to 3v4l. Although I could just do this in the PHP CLI, but it's a var dump. Let's just say it's 9.4.3 with a limit of 2. That would give us 9 and 4.3. So we want to change this to be 3. 3. And just say major, minor, and drop anything else afterwards. So what we can do now is, let's see. So we'll say if major is equal to, it's going to be a string. So if the major is equal to 9 and minor is equal to 1. Let's see, Drupal minimum PHP. These were all added for 9.1. So what is it? We could just do array merge. That should work. Okay, so that was added for 9.1. This is a 9.2. I'm sure there's probably a better way to be doing this, but so if this is a 9.2, we want to get this file in secure. Oh, wait a second. Never mind. Hold on, this doesn't make sense. I'm about to screw that up. So hold on. If major is equal to 9, hold on, I was doing this logic so bad. If minor is greater than or equal to, what if we do, hold on, where's that 3VVL? Let's do explode. I want to try something. So we did 9.4.3. And we cast these to int right here. I don't know if this is allowed or not. So let's do var.major, var.minor, and evalits. Assignments can only happen to writable values. All right, I thought that would break. Although I'm just being finicky here, because we could do, I know we can do this. I just like to convert things to their types. So false, we'll just do that. So if, then an if minor is greater than or equal to 1, I guess we can just cast it here. What we could do is Drupal 9 constants equals an array. What we should be able to do is say Drupal 9 constants equals right here. And if we do, let's cut this out. We can say if int minor greater than or equal to 2, Drupal 9 constants equals an array, and then at the end we say Drupal deprecated constants equals array merge. Oh no, then we'd have to do a double merge. Never mind, I was trying to be fancy with it. I'm going to skip that. Just undo that real quick. We'll just keep the merge and let it be. And cut that out. So if is greater than 2. Why is it angry about this? Statement is an empty body. Okay. So if it's greater than 2, let's then look for 9.2. Hold on, something was for 9.2, I thought. Oh shoot, I deleted that. Copy. So say deprecated constants equals array merge. Now we can do the same for 3. And 4, and there should be no Drupal 9.5 if we hit our new release target of August. So let's go ahead and make this be 4. We'll go ahead and copy this up. So if we do 9.3, 9.3, .4. No results. So let's just make sure. All right, these are also 9.1s. So let's bump these in. And the reason we have this is that with PHP, there's no way to do reflections on global constants. You can only do reflections on constants that belong to a class. So we have to do this global mapping that looks for a constant fetch that is not in a call. So let's do 9.0. Of course, all that's going to say 9.0. Nothing was deprecated in 9.0, 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3. All right, I think this should fix it. Do a git diff. Sure. V perform Drupal version check for deprecated constants. Git push u origin, GitHub 326, GitHub PR create. I'm curious now if it has like an auto way to watch right after you create it. I'll just do create, assignee, base branch, fill, head branch, milestone, project, recover, reviewer, title. I'll just do GitHub PR create, title, fixes, number 326, accounts for current Drupal version, submit, your watch, or checks. I want to try this out. Checks 350, watch. That's cool. But what we need to do is I feel like we need to do I have tests for this? Global dependency injection, access deprecated constant rule. Do we have a test for this? I'm somewhat wondering how we could test for this. We do not. We do not. We always test for head. Oh. Shoot. Oh, that's it. It's we can find when it's deprecated, but we can't access the message, I guess, or the PHP doc. So there's no way to know if a constant is deprecated. That's why. All right. I really would like having this testable. But I don't know the best way to do so. So I guess it's just push it and hope. Or hold on. Fixtures, rules, types, Drupal extension test, reflection. What does this reflection do? Test has method. I guess what we could do is, I wish, there's no way to mock a static version. What does this do? Just phpstan test case? What does this even do? Why do we... That. Drupal extension test. Excuse me. I guess what we'll have to do is I can test it with access deprecated constant. Let's just do deprecated constant list test. I don't know. I don't like the name of it, but I can't think of anything better. But the idea is that then we can do a final class deprecated constant list extends test case. And if we go ahead and we need to extends, nope, the phpstan test case. Public function test list based on version. void. What I'm hoping we can do is we'll say rule equals new access deprecated constant self reflection create reflection provider of this. Wow, that doesn't quite work. Excuse me. I guess that doesn't work because we would have to fill it with a node. So what if we do, maybe this isn't going to be as feasible as I thought. New PHP parser node. Let's see. What does this take? As a name, new name. Let's say schema installed, attributes, and rule, process node, const new out of class scope. Expected parameter type of scope, new out of class scope provided. What do you mean? Analyzer scope. That's not okay. Mutating scope. Scope. No. Get container. Hold on. Get parser, create broker. Reflectors, get container. 1 second. Rule test case. This analyzer, node scope resolver. Somewhere we should be able to get the scope. I thought we could. But maybe not. Because this analyze, file helper, get unordered errors. Shoot. Let's see. So interface. What if we can, I could mock it, I suppose. What does it take as a constructor? A lot. Hold on. Let me see something here. Let's look at the oh no, not that config scope. Lazy scope factory. And let's see in here. Is a phpstan test case, create scope factory, find usages, get analyzer. All right, so it looks like I can. All right, looks like I should be able to do this, maybe. let's go to here. We're going to go and let's go factory. Not the button I wanted to hit. Reflection provider. And type specifier. So if we do scope factory, create. It's not what I was hoping to see. Oh, never mind. Maybe we can do scope, scope context, create, new self. Never mind. Maybe this is going to be too big of a pain. Create scope factory. Yeah, we want, man, create, but then there's all of this in here. This isn't gonna be what I wanted. But it is what I want, but it's not gonna return. It's not gonna do what I wanted. Let's see at the end here. Scope, mutating scope. Yep, that's what we want. The context. Scope context. Create. We don't want. Let's try something else. So this wants the scope. Let's copy this reference. And hope this can work. Scope. We'll say scope equals this. Is that a direct dependency of mine? Gotta be careful with that. So PHP unit, no. Do not have prophecy as a dependency. So create mock. I've never used this, to be honest. I always use prophecy. So PHP unit mocking. I got a PHP unit create mock. I always use the prophecy library, never mocking. So let's just see. Create mock. Create stub. What's a stub? No. Test double. Mocking objects. I guess we'll just see what happens. So rule process node. Let's do errors. We'll say self assert count 1 from errors. Should be 1 error returned. Let's see if it blows up. It blowed up. And it very well could be inside resolve constant name. I need to use mocks because setting this up was just too hard. But actually, you know what? Hold on. There's a better way, or there's another way. One thing that Baram Baram that they provided was this idea. They created a way to create stubs, and it generated it on the fly and then inspected it. So I think that's going to be the way to do it, or create the stub files, I call it. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to delete that file. Let's go to rules and a new class called file access deprecated constant test .php. And let's go ahead and mimic this same process. This should be access deprecated constant. Why does this say this is an undefined class? Oh, probably because I didn't implement get rule. So add method stub. You can do return new access deprecated constant. This create reflection provider. Hey, hey, good evening to you. It is a lovely afternoon here. I guess, yeah, afternoon. It's almost 3 o'clock. Thanks for coming to hang out. And why is this? Oh, I see. What's this fully qualified object name? Oh, cat. Oh, thanks for spending your evening to tune in. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like to use mocks where I can as well, but phpstan, there's a lot of constructors and a lot of, it's more in depth. Like in Drupal, I use mocks a lot to avoid heavy bootstrapping, but in here, I think I was just fighting the system more than I needed to. So let's just do a we can do a simple test here. Modules, phpstan fixtures, module. Let's just create one called, screw it. We'll do function phpstan fixtures using deprecated constants. So let's do public function test rule, the void, and we'll just do this analyze error messages. Yep, so copy that, run it here where path is the magic constant, and get up to the fixtures. Modules. Is there any reason to use phpstan against Psalm? What do you think of the main benefits? So, actually, I gave a little background on this on my talk at Florida Drupal Camp. The main thing is that with Psalm, I couldn't integrate it. I could not do the integration. And I know that GitHub's Mortensen, oh, I'm going to butcher his last name. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I had a really hard time 3 years ago. This is, mind you, this is 3 years ago. So this is back when all the tools were brand new. Sorry. To just quick explain, let's first look at Drupal's kernel. And inside Drupal kernel, we've got function boot. This booted. Okay, so it's not in the boot, it's in the pre-handle. So no, it's not even in the pre-handle. Let's find index.php. I just want to show what, like, why. Normally with a, it's not in here. So normally with a PHP application, Composer generates all the namespace, or not the namespaces, but generates the autoloader. With Drupal, we don't really get that. It gets cached. So here we go. So this get module namespace is PSR4. So, and then class loader add multiple PSR4. So what happens, since Drupal allows dynamically, not dynamically, but you have extensions that are installed or not installed. And those namespaces need to be registered because you don't dump the autoloader since it's stateful, right? Drupal doesn't know what extensions exist until it can access the database or boot itself. So that means it cannot be dumped to the autoloader, which is to be generated whenever you run a composer install. So that's one reason. Now you could do like what Drupal Rector does, is just say, yeah, autoload these paths, like just point it at Drupal and have it just autoload every file. I don't like that because that's magical. For Rector, it's fine because Rector's not doing static analysis, it's finding signatures and replacing them. But for Psalm or phpstan, I wanted it to mimic Drupal's bootstrap as much as I could. So that's where it got a little bit harder, because you can see here, like add PSR4. So inside here, there's the Drupal autoloader, and this mimics Drupal's bootstrapping to register all the namespaces and service providers. And it tries to mimic how Drupal registers the namespaces and includes functions. And if we look at Samuel Mortenson's work, not the right one. Maybe this not the right one. Hold on. I'm going to get there. There we go. That's not, there's no GitHub links. Let me find out if I can find his GitHub. Oh, come on. Oh, for crying out loud. He worked on a Psalm integration. Let's see if I can find it though. And the problem is, I give up. He worked on a, oh wait, maybe this is it. There we go. There we are. So sorry, I just want to try to prove the point. No. So you could use the autoloader script, which is also used by Drupal. It doesn't work without having a database. And the benefit of using phpstan is running your code without a database. He did work on a way to bootstrap Drupal. But this requires running a script at your website or at your Drupal code when it's installed to dump a container file. One thing I did try to work on is Drupal static autoloader. Is this the namespace? No. Here we go. This should do it. So I try to extract out the data of the autoloader from phpstan-drupal to make it more generic, so it could be shared to make a Psalm plugin or Drupal Rector. So Drupal's autoloading is based on the database. In the Drupal kernel, it knows all of the available modules and registers them as this array. So Drupal module, and then dynamically adds them to the class loader. So that's not like most PHP applications, because with PHP applications, your namespaces are in code. It's dumped somewhere. So that's the goal that phpstan, that was actually the main thing that phpstan-drupal provided, was making static analysis of the real autoloader possible. I know Sam worked on these scripts here to like figure out how to enter and work on a few items. Like, I'm not sure what this is exactly here, but he experimented with it briefly, or not briefly, maybe he's still working on it, to do taint analysis on render arrays. I would love to see this kind of shared out, but I just remember before with Psalm's plugin, it was too hard to hook. There was like no autoloader. phpstan provided a way to say like you can generate an autoloader, and that let me bootstrap everything up. And maybe Psalm has changed. I know I would love to see it. I'm kind of going on I'd like to go on a series of encouraging people to do static analysis beyond just the deprecation analysis that we've used it for. So I hope that helps give a brief overview of that. So no problem for the explanation, because it is kind of goofy. Like, why does it need to be that way? And it's just because Drupal has a dynamic autoloader. It would be interesting to see if it's the same problem for like, well, CiviCRM has a lot of other things going on. It'd be interesting to see how others have solved that. But again, if you look at the phpstan extensions for Symfony, Laravel, they just work. That's oh yeah, I didn't put anything in it. Those just work because again, your code isn't dynamic. There's no optional dependencies. There's no dynamic namespaces being registered. Yeah. Yeah, and I want Psalm to be like you brought up, that they find different things. phpstan is great at some like strict and defensive programming. That's where I've come to love it. Defensive programming, it really tightens down your code. Where Psalm catches like a lot of security and oddities in that way. So that's why I'd love to actually start contributing to the Psalm plugin, so that way we can get that right. Like it lets us write better code. Part of my talk was about, it wasn't in my slides, but one thing I talked about is the fact that these static analysis tools, as a team lead, it makes my job easier helping train and level up junior developers. And also, I don't have to kick back the pull request 5,000 times over like little nitpicks, which is demoralizing, right? Like we've all been there. It's like you make a PR, it's like, oh, hey, you forgot this little thing. Or me as a lead, I've reviewed 5 PRs and I'm missing all the little things because I have to review a bunch of pull requests to keep everybody productive. Tools like this enable you to move fast and safely, and also it creates that emotional disconnect. So a junior's not like, Matt's a jerk, he kicked back my pull request 4 times. It's like, no, phpstan did, so go fix it before Matt gets to review it, and things like that. Random question: would a 2017 iMac be fine for learning React and trying to do big projects? Yes, it would. You can't see it, but to my right, I have my 2013 iMac i5 whatever with 8 gigs of RAM, and I used that until last year. It worked fine for me. The problem is that it only had 256 gigs of disk, and I went independent then, and I got on a project that had a database with 30 gigabytes and required Vagrant. Well, I couldn't find the spare space anymore, and that's when I officially had to stop using it. But I think you could get by working with that, honestly. Some things might be slow when doing like npm install or like yarn run, but I think a 2017 iMac is perfectly capable. I know nowadays it seems like you gotta have the highest and best, but you should be okay. All right, let's go use these constants. Bum, bum, bum. And just as a preface, so I know like I use these Wednesday live streams to work on phpstan, which is mostly PHP, but I do also do a lot of front end, well, not front end development. I'll say JavaScript work. I don't want to say front end because when it comes to CSS, I'm like, I'll use Tailwind and done. I'm not a CSS engineer, but I do a lot of I did a lot of headless work in e-commerce, so a lot of React and Vue practices around there. Yeah, I've seen code that runs. I've seen code that uses both Psalm and phpstan, and there's maybe sometimes like duplicate inline comments that ignore errors from each. Like that could be the worst part when you can't get an error to be ignored, or you want to ignore it in one spot. You have the 2 Psalm and phpstans thing in line, which isn't the end of the world. It gave me a PC and it isn't worth learning to do development on Windows. Now, I would say that because I've seen so many issues, but with the Windows Linux subsystem, what is it? Yeah, Windows subsystem, yeah, Windows WSL, right? It's not as bad using the subsystem for Linux on Windows, especially with the integration they have with VS Code and containers, that you could leverage it. The one benefit is having the disconnect. So, you can have one computer to do one thing and another that's for fun. But you could give it a shot, especially there's times where I don't know how something would work, but I know that there are a lot of folks that are doing it and getting and do just fine. And there's also people that have been doing development on Windows for a long time. It's just most of the articles you read are going to be different because they're targeting Unix-based systems. They're Unix-friendly with Mac OS or that. I've even considered getting a Windows machine just so I can learn it, and the WSL support seems pretty cool. All right, so I've got these 3 items here, and I'm going to also put this one in, and we should have, that's undefined, and I'm not testing on D8 anymore, so we'll just do, oh, this is going to be a problem in D10. So 1 second, get deprecated service rule. That's not it, the test. Get deprecated service rule. Here we go. All right, let's run it. So yeah, catch up on the chat real quick. Using WSL2, Docker integration, it's awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's gonna, oh, what is this? It must be a type array string given. Oh, that's why. Yeah, I think it's completely possible. Or if you do want to have it separate, I bought, well, this is for Mac, but I bought the MX, the Logitech, like MX series. So I have 3 computers I have to bounce to. I have my iMac because I never migrated everything over. So I just have it there. But you can't really see, but it does allow you to toggle between 3 computers with Bluetooth. And then I have my work MacBook. Now, they're all Macs. I don't have to go between Windows and PC. But I'm able to, it's not a full KVM. Like my monitors, I still have to unplug. But like my iMac, I can quit toggle, look over to the right, and access it. All right, so we've got the 3 errors, which is what I was hoping. I was afraid that my logic checks here would be broken. So let's actually prove that out. I should have wrote my tests first. I usually do test-driven development, but not this time. So I want to make sure that we've got 2 errors. All right. Great. Let's run that there. Yeah, I will say the work that Windows has done to, well, between buying GitHub and using VS Code and TypeScript and like dev containers, they've done a lot of work to kind of bring us back to the idea of like thin clients for development, right? Like where you've got your machine, but all the heavy lifting is actually happening in a remote container, where that remote container can be your Windows subsystem of Linux, or actually like on Docker or like with Gitpod. So there's lots of ways to get started while still having like a Windows machine or a machine that's a bit dated. So one thing to also check out, I don't use it because it's irrelevant for me, is there is gitpod.io. I'm going to close that in case it opens something. No. So active on GitHub can help. So I'll track back to my own. Actually, let's, being active on GitHub is one part of it, but let's see about, oh man. Hold on. Let me find a link real quick. So there's one thing about just being active in GitHub, and then there's just being active as part of a community as a whole. That's not it. 1 second. I want to find, I'll link you a blog where I talk about how I got my start. And it's basically where I just did, I was active in the community. So it wasn't so much being active on GitHub, although I do Drupal development. We don't use GitHub really. We have Drupal.org. But I just started working on stuff, and I was just more active. I was active in the community that opened a lot of doors. Let's see if I can find this. Oh, wait. This is probably from 2017. Hold on. I got to go back. I don't even know how to find it. ay. One second. I'll share it and see if it provides any kind of inspiration or any help. That's not it. Here we go. So yeah, so I wrote this, I guess, 4 years ago, and just check that out. It's the keynote I gave at Drupal Camp London in 2018. So 2018, I thought it was 17. And back in the day, like, coding was a hobby, and I used to deliver beer. Like, that's what I did. I was a beer shucker. I had my CDL and delivered beer. One day I hurt my back, and I got fortunate enough to find like a local opportunity. But I was able to go on that and expand it by being more active in the Drupal community. And that blog post kind of goes through it and talks about how contributing got me my first freelancing gig. With that, I was able to go to my first conference, and I just worked really hard at monopolizing that. It's all about, the networking aspect of it. And I hate networking, but I don't mind doing it when it's for open source stuff or at conferences, because there's value. I feel like there's value in that. You're actually contributing and helping other people. So hopefully that will be kind of cool to read. Obviously it's different. I don't know anything about like React or like getting into like front end communities. I'm the guy who's like, I don't know how to use Discord. I just dislike it. But give that a shot. The ideas should translate all the same. It's just more of try to find ways to get involved in the local community, like the developer community. If you're able to find meetups, I guess that's a big thing too, and it's really hard with COVID. Is if you can find meetups. Like, I didn't know that there actually was one in Wisconsin until I went to a conference. I went to Florida, Drupal Camp Atlanta, and Mike Anello was like, go plant a flag for Drupal in your hometown, because he was a good rabble rouser. And that led me to find out that there was a Drupal camp or Drupal meetup in Milwaukee. And through that meetup, met people, and that actually led to my second job. So just finding ways to connect with people in the local development community, that gives you people to ask questions to and learn from. All right. Looks like I've got a decent test that is verifying those constants across the minor versions show up. I don't have a way to mock like the minor version being lower, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and git diff, git commit AB, add test for access deprecated constant. Push. That's it too. I know when it comes to hiring, and it's so hard. Like, probably my biggest gripe with our industry right now. I'll get to the Git integration in a second. The biggest problem I have with our industry right now is that everybody says we need senior developers. It's like, how are you ever going to grow your team if you're just always hiring senior developers and people aren't necessarily investing in juniors the right way? But when I look at people and I want to hire people, I don't care if you don't know how to do React, but are you able to say, go on the internet and find a solution? Like, are you able to work through it, read documentation? If you can prove that you know how to solve the problem, that's all I care about. Anybody can learn how to code, right? Anybody can learn how to learn a language and write code, but can you solve problems? And that's what we do with code, is we solve problems. So I don't care how you solve the problem, but if you're able to work your way through it and solve it, then great. To me, you have a good future in software development. Juniors are always slow to fixing curious problems. I know. I face that right now, but honestly, now that I'm at like a principal software engineer level, that's my favorite part about being an engineer, is writing architecture and guiding juniors to become better in learning practices that I've learned along the way. It's just hard because it's not always feasible because, yeah, you got deadlines. You got to meet those deadlines, and you need seniors to help you hit those deadlines. It's a very vicious cycle right now. I normally do use the built-in Git integration for my commit messages and for committing, but I've gotten so used to using the GitHub terminal, the GitHub command line for things that I bounce between. I bounce between all the time. It's funny, like I'll sit and do, oh, sorry, I always keep hitting command keys and I forget. So command 0 does pop up your diff right here. I'll use that to review my diffs, but then I go back to the terminal to actually make the commit. Probably force of habit because now sometimes the code analysis takes forever. But when I'm working like normal work, I do leverage the built-in Git more often than I do. Which I also found out another little shortcut. So 9 opens the log, so that way you can get in and view the log. 0 opens the commit hit section, so you can just start viewing the change list. And Command K brings you to the commit message, which is because Option Command K is like how you push. So I thought that was pretty neat once I figured that one out. Staging inside of Git. Yes. So that's one thing that I use as well. I subscribe to the JetBrains toolbox, and I've been using phpstorm since 2015, maybe. So about 7-year user. It's like $160 a year, and I use Goland, I use WebStorm, I use all their IDEs. Especially like I had to work on Ruby, and I don't know anything about Ruby, but RubyStorm, whatever it's called, I got the work done because it helped me out. So I think if you buy the individual IDE, it's about $99 a year. It's worth it, and the longer that you have it, it actually goes down in price. It is a little bit smoother than VS. Some people complain like, oh, well, it's slower. It's like, well, it's slower because it does more. Like, I get it. Like, I pop in the VS Code to do some quick editing because I don't need to have, access to my database or the full Git. Like, I don't need to have as much available. But when I'm working inside phpstorm, I usually don't have to leave because I can read a database. I can even access AWS when I need to go into AWS. VS Code obviously has better GitHub integration, but phpstorm's gotten there. All right. Okay, so yeah, it's €149. So I think it's like $160 for the toolbox, which is wild that it's that cheap for that much productivity. All right. Let's see. Just catching up, making sure I caught all the chat. All right. But it's I can see if it's not like your full-time job and you're paying for it, it's like, I don't know, but one day of use pays for itself in an entire year, for me. Okay, so I just want to make sure 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.1.1. Request. There we go. One thing I'd say too is even if you are like the sole developer working on something, use pull requests for yourself, even if it's a private project. And I want to show you why. I deleted this branch, or GitLab too. GitLab, GitHub, whatever you want. So I made this pull request, and it still has all my files changed and my commits, even though I deleted the branch, because GitHub and GitLab persist that merge Git object that has history that you can review. So that way you can go back, read for what you've done in the past. So always use that also for the checks. And before I merge anything, I still review the entire diff. Like, do that for yourself instead of just committing wildly. It doesn't slow you down that much. So let's see. All right, merged in the check. I will be releasing an update with this soon. Sorry, excuse me. All right. Documentation, ignore transliteration data. For Alex Pot, let's have Drupal core handle this. What did I realize here? Oh, so Drupal core on branch 10.x is now running phpstan. And we realized it was taking a while. And one thing I realized is that it's analyzing all of these files used for transliteration, and we could skip that to make it faster. But why didn't I do this in phpstan itself? I don't remember because we talked about it in Slack and I did not copy it over into the issue. I think the main idea was so that way if we needed to change anything, we didn't require a change to phpstan-drupal itself. So let's, and one thing actually that I realized in our extension file, we have these ignore, wait, no, we don't. It's not collapsing. Oh, I thought we did. All right, so let's document this. Let's go to the README. I don't know about a lot of hassle. I would say it depends on what you're building on top of it. There's times where you could say that you could say that Drupal's a hassle, but that's because Drupal's in a weird position. Like it's a mix between framework and like full CMS. Like it straddles. That's the word I'm looking for. It straddles two personas. So there's times where it's a lot more complicated because it caters to people who are site builders and content creators that can do things via user interface, and then also developers like myself who build SaaS products out of it instead of using like Laravel or Symfony to do so. Every language is a hassle. Let's just say that from experience. So excluding tests from analysis. Let's just put it here. Speeding it up. Scans. Here are some tricks for speeding up scans. One. Yeah. Laravel is beautiful and magical. I've been able to do things really quick. It takes like the cool parts of PHP, how you could just like script something and it works, and also the magicalness of like how does this work? And I find myself reading code and going through traits and magical callables and all kinds of things. Like there's really cool things that it does, but the way it does it is super magical. Okay, so speeding up scans. Here's some tricks for speeding up scans. Let's do ignore. I don't know. Ignore Drupal's transliteration data. Drupal has a series of transliteration. Actually, if I got a typo here, let's just copy it. Yeah, yields. So I've used yields. I can't say I've understand it, but a lot of my time is importing like lots of big data, and I've used yields to be more efficient with it, and like it just works. I don't know. I can't fully explain it. Or doing like async PHP. So I've been working a lot with asynchronous PHP for processes, like with React PHP. I've yet to try out Fibers and 8.1, right? Is 8.1 when they shipped? Maybe it was just 8 in general, and 8.1 had an improvement. But it's all, I haven't had time to really sit down and use it for anything realistic. So, all right, Drupal has a series of transliteration data, ignoring the following path may decrease scan time. No, wait. Hold on. this only matters if you're scanning Drupal core. So I'm not going to do anything about this. This only matters when you are scanning Drupal core, which if you are, you should be using the provided core phpstan.neon.dist. So I'm going to close that out because that shouldn't affect anybody because we're not loading it unless you scan it. So let's close that. Let's see. Let's see this library. Iteration primitives using generators. Oh, this looks interesting. To rewindable, call to map. Let's see. Ooh, so I don't know if anybody's seen this, but they have lists. So I'm going to put it in my future ideas list. So you can star things and then organize your stars. All right, so that's that one. Here's another one I wanted. Let's see. Before I tackle this one, this is going to be a bigger problem because core, so Drupal core deprecated a base class and that's fine. Like we can catch that with phpstan's deprecation rules, but it also deprecated an array key. And you can only catch that at runtime. So yeah, that's going to be fun to go into. And since I've got I do this for 2 hours, since I've got about half an hour left, I want to first look at these other two that were open. So it's awesome. Drupal core maintainers are now opening issues whenever there's like a change record. So whenever code has to be changed due to deprecations. And they opened a few of them in phpstan-drupal, but then I realized we should just open them in the rector queue because a lot of these we just find, like I don't need to write custom rules for, but we always do with rector. Rector allows you to write a rule that looks for a code signature and then rewrites it to be appropriate or better, which is great when you do deprecated code changes. So Git Revision Metadata key is on content entity trait. Wait, this is from revision metadata fields are now defined in entity annotation. Oh, that's right. Wait, that change record seems weird. Deprecated in favor of public static function. Oh, come on. They didn't tag it as deprecated. Is there a reason why? No. Catch. Is there any specific reason why it was not deprecated in the PHP doc, but only at runtime? If the method had deprecated, it would be caught. I'm not sure if Git metadata revision key. Let's see. I'm not sure if this was due to conflicts with calls to a non-static method. That's not great. So this is one problem that Drupal has too, is some things are deprecated, but some things are deprecated with runtime errors, and that doesn't work. Static class. So I guess like we could provide a static call. So actually static call check for this method on this trait straight to display the deprecation. But however, it'd be better to just fix Drupal core. Is that possible? All right. So that's been triaged. Let's put some details on that. And then, so let's see if this is also come on. Catch for this. All right, so it looks like I'm probably going to be contributing some patches to Drupal core. This also only has a runtime. Wait, hold on. Never mind. There it is. Let me backtrack on. Okay, so just that one. Never mind. Is subclass of copy reference. We don't need to do anything here since the method is deprecated on the interface. phpstan will pick it up. Now what I should do is project rector is I should make sure that we have an issue open for this. Nope, we don't. Create new issue. Let's copy this over. Task code. Let's copy this. You know, when we fully migrate to Gitlab, I can't wait to have Markdown support on Drupal.org. Preface, anybody that's watching that doesn't do Drupal development, Drupal.org was built way before like there was GitHub or anything like that, and it is the like the Git repository and issue tracker and docs. And we are migrating to Gitlab. So the code's hosted on Gitlab, but we still have our issues on Drupal.org, which I'm a fan of. Because we can do attribution. Like right now I'm doing this on my own time. But when I'm at work, I could say it's like I'm doing it for Acquia or previously like my customers. So when I had my own company, I could say it's Bluehorn Digital for blah. And we can say who's contributing to the project. I know Gitlab is actually looking at ways to integrate that. We were talking to them as like that's a adoption blocker. So that's being brought up. And I also like the fact that non-maintainers can triage project management. Like anybody can come in and help fix anything in the issue metadata. Where GitHub, nobody can do that unless they have full access. All right, so did my due diligence here to make an issue. Opened issue for rector since that needs a rule. Go fix that. So let's close. And all right, rule for condition manager, create instance when context is passed as an array key. Woo! All right, this is gonna be a hootenanny and a half. So let's go look at. Oh man, wait. Okay, condition manager, create context. So condition manager is a plugin manager for context plugins. So we look at create instance. So what we need to do here is check if, let's see, we've got some code that's kind of like this. Let's see, deprecations, nope. Render a callback. So what we need to do is listen on array item. So let's start speccing this out. So Drupal deprecations, what we call this, condition manager, context. Would that be configuration? Let's do deprecations, new file, configuration manager, create instance, context, configuration rule. Look at that. That is a beautiful file name. We're in Java land where we've just got tons of words. That's actually, I recently have started to run into PHP mess detector, and it annoys the living heck out of me because it's like, oh, your property name is called ID. That's less than 3 characters. You shouldn't do that. Or, sorry, your variable name is 30 characters long. It should be 25. It's like, no, I'm making sure I have verbose names so that way you understand what's happening instead of, I like having a blend of appropriate comment names and also comments. Like, I don't want to have a comment that explains why this thing is because the variable name is too short. Yeah. Extends. Sorry, implements rule. And we'll copy this get node type. Node. Reflection provider. What do we use the reflection provider for? If it has a function. All right, don't need that. Or the service map. All right, so let's copy this process node. The one. Let's go to here, and I'm gonna start proofing it out as I walk through it and talk through it. So we listen for, let's see, I'm gonna split it down below. All right. So we need to check for array item access to this key. So if node key, and if node key type, oh wait, we should do, it will be a string. Let's do string. So if it's not, if the key is not a string, we skip it. And if key value is not equal to context, return 0. And also what we should do as a pre-flight check is if scope is in class. So if we're not in a class, we should just bail right away. And a Spotify clone and the skip function keeps bugging out. Oh yeah, why does this happen? Everything will make you go mad in development. All right, so we've got this here. What we should do now is create a test and a mock. Because we're gonna do some test-driven development here, which is the preferred way, the way that I prefer to work, because it makes it easier to catch bugs. So we can go to the phpstan fixtures source. Why don't we just, we'll go into here and we'll say function phpstan fixtures condition manager context. So we can do condition manager equals Drupal service. Actually, yeah, actually we'll do that because we can verify a few things here. So condition manager. Let's go to core services. Oh, come on. Where is it? There we go. So plugin manager condition. I'm going to say foo equals condition manager create instance barbaz with a configuration array that has blah, or we'll say foo to bar and context of entity type. We'll just say node. I don't know. We'll just fake it that way. The tab 9 plugin for PHP Storm? No, I do not. Now I'm curious. Oh, helps if I spell. Tab 9. Saves a lot of typing time. Tab 9. Oh, the AI stuff. I have not used it because I can't use it at work. Or whether I thought this stuff is cool, I thought about looking at it, but during my day-to-day, I cannot use it because a lot of these. Wait, this is offline only though, right? So maybe I can. The one problem with a lot of these AI problems is it uploads code, and you can't. That's not allowed. Speed up development, code discovery. It's like if this works offline, maybe I can. So it's like a version of like like GitHub Pilot. Okay, so it contextualizes what you're writing based off things it already knows. So it does have like a downloaded engine like GitHub Pilot. I'll probably check it out for my personal stuff, but the problem is I do less coding on this computer than my work computer now. But that would be cool to check out. So let's go to the test now. Rules. So let's create the rule test.php. That's a bigger one. That's not what I want. Oh, come on. Where's a simple one I can just copy paste? None of these. I'm big on copy pasting a lot of stuff because I hate typing the same thing over and over again. So find class, condition, extends, Drupal, rule, test case. Get rule. Return new condition manager, create instance configuration. Oh, why'd I close the thing? All right, so we got the fixture, got the code. Just go test rule. Should only run on Drupal 9. We're not going to do a generator. So this analyze. Will be their magical constant. Yeah, I think it'd be cool to set it up for my next stream. So I do these weekly. So I think it'd be cool to set it up on this computer and use it during my next live stream just to see how it runs. Because I'm all about trying out new things. All right, so this should not be empty. This should have some string and be at some number. So if we run the rule, actually I need to register it as well. So let's copy the reference and get to the rules. All right, so that's added. This will say that there's no error because I didn't write the rule to do anything yet. So let's go ahead and drop a breakpoint here. And, oh, wait a second. Shoot. Shoot. This won't work because when it scans the code, all right, I gotta think for a second. So when it scans the code, it's checking create instance, but it's not inspecting the arguments. Let's just see real quick. And then I'll explain what I'm thinking will happen. So if I do debug, so the problem is it's going to read this code and it doesn't run as if inside create instance. I don't think, like, it's just going to be scanning this code. So it's going to find the array item of context, but it won't be inside of a class scope because it's not like it's parsing it inside of create instance. So let's skip that breakpoint. All right, so we're here. Our node is an array item. The key is foo, so we are here. So we're at this first key. Let's hit play again. So now we're at context. So we are parsing this line of code. We have the attributes and value items. All right, so we have this. So attributes, we've got the parent, which is array. And that parent is an argument, which that parent is then a method call. So what we need to do is resolve upwards until we know we're in a method call and hope that works. So let's hit stop. So key. So we need our key to be a string of context. And there's, oh man, implements rule. I want to know if phpstan has a service for like resolving parents. And the worst part is I've been doing work with Rector, and that has a lot of those helper services that phpstan does not. So I don't know. Broker. Let's see, broker factory. So broker, register instance, get instance of said broker, which is where we are. Get class. This is all from the reflection provider. Everything's deprecated. So let's just go to the reflection provider. Reflection provider. Here we go. Get class, get resolve function name has constant. Nope. Let's look for parent. Parent construct, parent scope. Scope, get parent scope. Scope factory. Type specifier, get parent class names. Is there a parent node? Oh, here we go. That's in the registry. Rules, parent node, get attributes. That's in the mutating scope. But what method is that? Exact instantiation. No, that doesn't look right. It's property type. Node scope resolver, process statement nodes. It's like, it feels like it should be in the node scope resolver, but looks like we're not there. Parent node equals parent node. No, shoot. Well, we're just gonna start here. Let's see. We'll do stop equals null. Again, this is my trick for doing like breakpoints, is leaving an empty line here. Let's see. So let's do the debug again, and we should get stopped when it hits this line. Come on. All right, so parent node is the array, and that we need to get the, oh no, actually, all right, this is the wrong approach. Hold on. This is the wrong approach, because what if somebody builds the array? Here, let's do this out. I'm going to prove why that's the wrong approach. Let's do configuration, and we can say configuration equals. So this is where it breaks, because we'd be analyzing this array and not the method call. So let's change this to be node expression node method call class. So let's fix this to be method call. 1 second, my wife is asking if I want dinner, or what I want for dinner. 1 moment. Okay. So let's stop this, and well, actually, no, not completely stop. So node, so if node name. Actually, I can never remember how this should work. 1 second. They get the name of the method correctly. Get deprecated surface call. There we go. Perfect. We'll just copy that. Method name, and so we can say if node name to string is not equal to create instance, return this. All right, so let's run the debugger. We'll have to scope this more, because we need to make sure that the class that's being called is of the condition manager itself. So let's see. No, not a big fat burger. I actually don't know what I might have said out loud, but it's Jersey Mike's, so we're getting sandwiches, I guess. Because our day is a complete mess, because our 2-year-old, for those who have seen Home Alone, like the original, where Marv and them, he would shove like the towels into the sink and then turn it on. Yeah, our 2-year-old did that today, and I got off of a call somewhere between me getting off a call and actually hearing things, to being on another call, to taking off my headphones and hearing like water running. I was like, oh, maybe like the shower's going or something. No, I look down and there's water coming in through the wall, because our laundry room looked like a rainforest with water just dripping through where like the pipes come down through the walls or the floor. Luckily, it's not bad damage. It came down, but yeah, so my day's been a hot mess as we cleaned up from our 2-year-old flooding our bathroom in our bedroom. So that was great. All right. So let's, yeah, not so nice. You just gotta laugh at it though, because otherwise you'll go insane. So what we get in now is we're at create instance, and this is what I want to do. The arguments. We need to look at the arguments that are coming in and try to evaluate those values. So let's start with the type equals scope get type from node var, and args equals node get args. Actually, we'll do this too. So we'll take the configuration is an optional parameter. So we'll do, so if count args is not equal to 2, return, because we know that we will have secondary args. So then we can say configuration equals args 1, and we can do configuration type equals scope get type configuration value. Yeah, so it's not too bad. Luckily, like the room that it happened in is our laundry room. So it just literally went from, it's like the water came down and ended up going through like the whole, like going underneath the toilet and just pouring down. I don't know. But I did all the looks. There's no damage, and previously had our AC unit back up, which caused the furnace to leak too. So this is not our first rodeo, and bought one of those. It's like a dehumidifier that's a heater, so it can heat up the area to extract moisture and then dehumidify it. How long have I been coding in PHP? So like I picked up PHP when I was in 7th grade, but this is like to write really basic stuff, not full on. So like I've been messing around with programming since I was 12. I am 33, so 11 years. Yeah, I guess 11 years. But I've been like a professional developer for 9 years. Maybe this is my 10th year. So wait, I can't do math. Yeah, since I was 12, so 20 years. I've been fiddling around with code for 20 years. Sorry. Yeah, fiddling around with code for 20 years and actually developing with PHP for about 10, I would say. The first 2 were like some really basic like WordPress sites, not building anything. But my second job, we built a what you see is what you get website hosting for K through 12 schools. And that was really cool. And that was built on Drupal as well. Letting like teachers like drag and drop with panels to build their like mini websites inside the school website and manage students and share stuff. Yeah, there's definitely worse damage that can be seen. Yeah, I've done a lot of, as I like to say, is I've done a lot of stupid things with code and have experienced lots of stupid things, not stupid things, interesting things along the way. The past 5 years have been building Drupal commerce and taking Drupal, turning it into an e-commerce platform, and then breaking a lot of things in Drupal along the way. You learn a lot of little tricks and you run into a lot of problems that then you figure out. But thank you for the compliment. And that's one reason I like doing these live streams is I was doing all this open source contribution. 1, losing my mind, but 2, it's kind of nice sharing as well. Like, hey, this is how Matt does stuff. And if that helps somebody else, cool. If not, well, at least it got me to contribute some code. So class name is Condition Manager. So let's see. Yeah, it can be a big mess of code. I'm trying to find ways to like show ways that you can do cool stuff with Drupal instead of being like, what is this? Because I have always worked with like the very deep layers of it all. Yeah, it's definitely a mess. And like I said, that's where Drupal, it's like it can be a mess, but that's because it has a split personality. It's really powerful for site builders. Like I know a lot of people that don't write code, but they just build and piece together Drupal sites. And then the content creators, and then there's the developers who just build stuff without touching the user interface. So it really straddles that line between what somebody might pick up WordPress for versus Symfony itself. It's a good combination. I'm hoping with Drupal 10, we're realizing that we need to bring down, Drupal really bubbled up to the enterprise level. Because let's face it, that's who paid to work with it and build it. I'm hoping that we can kind of come down the stack more and become more convenient in a developer experience for like people who do Symfony, but also for people who aren't developers and aren't enterprise as well. All right, so type, let's see. So type, one thing we need to check is that it is so let's do condition manager. I don't know if it should be on the interface or on the condition manager itself. Let's just do condition manager equals new object type condition manager class. We need to do if condition manager sorry, this should be condition manager type is super of type so it is not yes. phpstan has trinary logic for these, so it could be yes, maybe, or no. So we want to say if not yes, we're going to return no errors because we only apply to the condition manager. Now configuration type. Let's look at configuration type, value types. Oh man, I love phpstan because it somehow magically resolves the values. So when I did scope get type of configuration, so if you look at configuration, sorry, it's just a variable called configuration. But when we ask the scope for its type value, we're getting back the value types of the constant array type. And we can see here that value, the first one is bar, but then we have in here, oh, wait a second. Value types, hold on. Key types, entity type. Oh, wait a second. Node, hold on. Configuration type, value types. Key types, constant string type, context. Okay. So we need to see if configuration type instance of, or if it's not an instance of constant array type, we're going to return null. Must be array, return null, and allow invalid or parameter inspection rule to report error. Must be an array. So we're going to return blah. We'll return an empty array and allow the parameter inspection rule to report the error because it's a mismatch. And then we can do configuration type, get value types, get key, get keys array, get key types. Arrays, so key types, value types is empty. Next auto index, get optional keys, get all arrays. Power set, get key type, key types, value types. Is optional key. This array, optional keys. Oh man. Accepts, no. Is super of equals. Is this an iterable type? It is not. So I don't know. I've never had to do this yet in phpstan's types. Is iterate over and see if we can find make offset required, merge with, is superset of, traverse. Okay, so this could be so for this value types, self, this key types, value types, auto index, callable, value type. That's not good enough. Infer template types, no. Count, get values array, key types, constant integer type here. Get keys array, no, man. To float, slice. I guess what we have to do is callable, no, is optional key. Get key types. So let's do this. I don't like this part, but for each configuration type, yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna be, so what we need to do, configuration type, get key types. Let's try a few things. Test equals configuration type, get types, get keys array, test one equals configuration type, get keys, get key types. We have to iterate over the key types to find one that make sure that they're a string. And if one of those strings is context, is what we need to do. Actually, yeah. Oh, wait. I'm making this way harder than it has to be. We don't care what's inside context. We care that it exists. So what's test? Constant array type, key type, value types, constant string. Test one is just an array. So yeah, we can do that. Let's go do a for each. Let's do for each as key type, key, excuse me, get value, foo equals get value, and stop null. You don't need that breakpoint there. We can drag it up. Let's run the debug. All right, I'm going to go a little bit longer since I know everybody's out and about. And I don't need to hop off. All right, so the goal here is foo equals foo. Because foo. Yeah. So if I hit play, we've got context, key type. Now the good question is constant integer type or constant string type. We'll just do, let's harden it up so that way phpstan doesn't get angry. So if key type instance of constant string type. So we'll say if and we'll just do it all in here. So and key type get value is equal to context. We have it here. Now, what we should do is I want to make sure I build the error the same way as here. All right, though I guess it's not really error builder. Where's the error builder at? Error builder, error rule builder. Here we go. Oh, it would never be in there twice, so we'll just do return and I close condition manager. No, I didn't. So let's do this. So we should be able to copy this message then. And let's go. We can say that's the message. And actually, we should do. I lost track of what I'm trying to do here. So rule message, build, but that's not what we want. So build returns just the rule error, which is stringable or get message. Why can't I think about class extends rule, ruled error builder, load includes line. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Why is this looking like an error? Should that happen? All right, let's run the test. And we should get back a failure. But we want it to actually be a failure because it should have, ta-da, the string in it for line 60. Let's copy that. Let's copy this code and update this. Oh no. There we go. And it's line 60. Let's go and update that. And there we go. Now the test should pass. I'm still on my follow-up branch, so I do need to do a quick checkout and update. There we go. I guess we did it. So let's check out main, checkout, smart checkout. Oh. We want this. Let's put this one underneath. This is one reason I do love PHP Storm, is the Git stuff. When I do use it in an interface, it just works, and it works so well. Let's see. Oh, wait a second. Okay, let's see. There we go. So let's see. Extension adds the rule. We've got the new rule itself. We've got the fixture. And then the rule here. So let's do new branch. This fix is 337. Did not think this would go over so well. Since I am doing actually some new code, let's do PHP vendor bin phpstan. Let's have phpstan analyze my own code. No errors. Lucky me. Let's just copy that name. Commit push. Oh, select files to commit. Default change list. Missing return statement. That's fine. Statement is empty body. Null pointer may commit and push anyways. So like I said, I bounce between. Yes, I do use GitHub Actions. So if we go GitHub PR create fixes number 337. So yeah, so if we look for when this refreshes, I do have GitHub Actions. I also have my legacy Circle CI because I always hated Travis CI. I hated Travis CI with a passion because it wasn't a pipeline. It was just blah. So I always liked Circle CI because it was a full pipeline. Like you could say, if this passes, then do these 3 jobs. You could build like a good, like, an actual pipeline. Now Travis was great because you could do a matrix easier, and GitHub Actions lets you as well. But what I have, because it'll be easier to show in here, so GitHub Actions. So I have my tests, and it runs on PHP 7.4 by default for 8.9 and 9.0. And then I have an include for PHP 8 and Drupal 9. Now, Drupal 8 does not run on PHP 8. That's why I have this as included. It should not be experimental. That's a holdover. And Drupal 10 will require 8.1. So this is a bit complicated because I have to do some dependency changes, but it uses setup PHP, and then it creates the test site. No, it just updates some dev dependencies, and then it runs PHP CS, phpstan-analyze, and then PHP unit, which let's just make sure PHP 10 is only failing due to dependencies. Then I also have a build integration one. And this actually creates a, when I had my own company, Bluehorn Digital, I created a GitHub action that sets up a Drupal site, and it configures Drupal to be able to point to your repo. So that's how I test this as a build integration. And I also do it without Drupal's dev dependencies. So that runs automatically and pretty quick. So as you can see, most things finished in about 2 minutes, or less than 2 minutes for some of the build integration tests. I don't think that's 23 seconds. If that is, I'm pretty floored. Show all the tests. Let's see. It's 50. That's pretty quick. So test. Oh, the build integration test took 25 seconds. The longer ones took a minute. Well, it's not too bad. Oh, yep. Okay, so like this is okay, great. This is things that are expected to not cause failures. I'm so how many hours a day am I working on code usually? Now, not much, but that's because I'm a team lead. So I'm working on reviewing code and writing architecture documents, which I love because I'm solving hard problems and my team is my proxy. But let's say that if I did a good, like about 5 hours, I believe that if there's an 8 hour working day, not even 5 hours, let's be real. If you work for 8 hours, you get 3.5 of good hours of working done. The rest are dismantled or just disjointed. You got meetings, you got interruptions, you've got pings, but probably about like 3 to 4 hours a day of coding. The CI stuff can be hard, but I'm also like a nerd for continuous integration and like DevOps in general. So like Docker and Ansible are like my favorite little toys. This pass, I'm gonna merge it. Actually, I'm gonna review it first before I click merge. I want to just double check it. I would say though, like before I wasn't like in a lead, or if I was in a lead but I could be on my own, it'd be about like 5 hours a day of just hard problems too. That's the difference though. Is if you're not getting to tackle like really hard things, it can be hard to grow. I do like GitLab CI setup, and I like that they have templating. Um, yeah, I also used to like Circle CI a lot because they had a way to run it locally before you pushed, but that's been broken on Mac OS due to some problems. So registered the service and created the rule. So yeah, so we say if the name's not an instance of an identifier, that could be like, I don't know what case that would happen in. Create instance, get the args. If there's isn't two args, make sure that the caller is a condition manager. Find out the configuration type, that's an array. And there you go. Oh yeah, Kubernetes is amazing. I love Kubernetes so much. Like playing with it. I was hosting my personal site on Kubernetes I didn't need to, but just the idea that you define your desired state and it is a state machine that resolves it. Like I think it's beautiful. I really wanted to mess around with Kubernetes as a CI system with like jobs, but I never really got there. But yeah, it's so amazing. But yeah, there is this learning curve. I mean, but that's how it is with everything, right? Like Drupal has this problem. There's like a steep learning curve, but then once you use it, there's a graph somewhere. And like just I wish I could attribute this, but like WordPress has a really easy adoption. But then the pain grows as you become more advanced with it. As you get advanced, people are like, oh, I'm fighting it. So happy to err. And Drupal has actually an err to happy curve. It's inverse. Like you start and you're like, this is why. But then you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like this is fun to work with. Again, no shade to WordPress because it has a very specific job and it works really well. I just saw a tweet about it too. Like just be like WordPress, the developer experience can be like hair pulling, but like it's really good at what it does. So it's not meant to be like to run your SaaS. GitLab with Kubernetes. Yeah, I really wanted to set up GitLab with Kubernetes for orchestration. That looked really cool, especially since GitLab, like that's what GitLab is aiming for, is to be the center of your ops. All right, I think this looks good. I didn't think I'd be able to do this, let alone do it right now. So let's merge that. Let's delete the branch. And let's tag a release, because that's always the fun thing to do at the end of a live stream. Boom, boom. Yeah, Kubernetes does move fast. I remember building something, and when I went back to it in 6 months, like the API was no longer beta, and it was like part of it. The thing is, though, you got one thing to realize when you're working with like a web app in Kubernetes. Kubernetes was meant to deploy microservices, like a Golang binary or a Rust binary that did one thing. And when building like a Drupal site, you're working with statefulness, and that was under active like SIG. What is it? What does SIG mean? I don't even remember. Special interest group. That's it. So a lot of these APIs that you have to use with your web applications that require a database were under development with the special interest groups. Around like not deployments, no, stateful sets. There's a few like of the APIs that I remember changed along the way. But Kubernetes is fun. I just wish it was easier to like develop with, because otherwise you got to pay about like, $80 a month to have a development server or learn as you go. Okay, stateful sets are for databases. Yeah, I know some words, but I'll admit that I don't know what they all are exactly for all the time. All right, so let's actually mark this as a fix-up. Create a discussion for the release in case anybody finds something wrong, and boop. All right, so the release is out. That means people will be able to update on packages fairly soon. Okay, on the same node. So when you have volume storage, got it. So you use the stateful set to make sure it's on the same node that has the volume mount. Got it. This is completely off topic from here, but one thing I did do is I worked on this to try to create like a 12-factor app with Drupal. Is I have it set up to run locally, where everything is not off topic. I'm geeking out over it. But to have like Redis out of the box with object storage. So locally, I use DDEV, which is like a Docker wrapper. I like it because it wraps just enough that I don't have to copy around the same Docker Compose files, but I can write Docker Compose files. So it has min.io locally to mimic like S3 data storage, and then has Redis for its caching, and it has the defaults. Where is it? What am I looking for? It just comes with batteries operated. So you should be able to deploy Drupal to a Kubernetes cluster and leverage S3 object storage and all those goodies, without needing volumes mounted. So you can point it to your RDS, throw it on your Kubernetes cluster, and be off and running with Drupal. That was one thing I was working on. And so I've never really dived into Helm charts, but I have used Ansible to run my Kubernetes. Because I just know Ansible and I didn't want to learn Helm, but I think Helm would probably be better with its variable templating. So that would be cool. But yeah, all right. So I'm 15 minutes over I normally go. This was fun. It was nice having people around the chat a bit more than normal, and I don't care if it's side topics or not. I just love to nerd out. We got a good release out that has one runtime deprecation that can be caught. Fixed up some constants, did some triage. So hopefully next week, what I can do, I have two things I want to work on. Actually, one, fix this hot mess of code. Actually, I'm gonna copy that link because I will otherwise lose it. Paste and go. So I want to revisit this hot mess of a nightmare code, which is plugin manager says cache backend rule, because I wrote this 3 years ago. Stepping through this, because concatenation, because it's not using types. That's why. All right. So hopefully next week your issue will be fixed. I also want to work on this drush command idea to generate the entity mappings and also restrict the extensions that are loaded. Yeah. So some of the backstory for phpstan-drupal is when I was at Centauro, my previous company, is we wanted to launch like Centauro Toolbox, and it was going to be like support tools to help you run your Drupal sites, like CI, stuff like that. So I experimented on it, and it just proved that people aren't paying for somebody to run CI and health checks for them. They'll run it themselves. But so I put it aside. It was like my own R&D to see if we could achieve it. But then we found out with PHPstan's deprecation rules and this, we could find all the deprecated code. So Drupal went to Drupal 8. It had a lot of not dead code, but code that needed to be ripped out for Drupal 9. And it was really hard to find it all. And this was like the saving grace for that. If you have some direction, hack on it this time. So let's see, let's find that. So what we need to do, cache key main fix is cache key equals cache key type equals scope get type cache key type value is not empty string. There's my horrible guidance for that. And also this could all be fixed too. So this code was also written before phpstan had its type system added. So everything could be improved in this. But if we can start leveraging the types, the code would be cleaner. The code just needs to be updated to latest phpstan types that was written before they existed. Yeah, and that also didn't have tests. So yeah, that code is 3 years old. Let's see. Let's do a git blame. Yep, 3 years ago, 2018 in the morning, or 2018 in December. That's wild. All right. So there's that, and then the strush command to provide some more interesting checks and to scope the amount of extensions that we load. Oh, and I want to see if we can inspect controllers in the methods so we can do argument checks and also read the routing.yaml files. So I've got a lot of cool things I want to try to do, and I'll be back next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central to hack on it, and I'm going to check out this Helm charts. So thanks for sharing that. I wanted to check this out. Cool. So thanks for hanging out, and have a good one, everybody.